Hi everyone, it's Easter time and today I wanna try to paint a little Easter scene with a bunny, Easter bunny, and some Easter eggs. And we will try different designs on our Easter eggs, but first we will start with a bunny because it is a more complex subject to paint, because we don't really want to paint like a super easy cartoonish bunny. At least I don't want to do it today. I wanted to do a cute bunny, not super realistic, because probably I won't be able to do so as an abstract artist, but something closer to a real bunny, realistically looking bunny. And I will just make a sketch with a pencil, and then we will use acrylic paints. Well, I will use acrylic paints and you can use watercolor, gouache, acrylic, colored pencils, or anything you want, because I would be using acrylics in a little bit thinner way, closer to diluted gouache, or maybe even closer to watercolor, because I want to have this really light, nice, gentle, subtle way to this little scene. So we will start with a bunny, and I will be just centering the scene in the middle, in the center of the paper. I'm using a watercolor paper, and I'm traveling. I do not have a ruler with me, but I wanted to make sure I set aside some space on the paper from the bottom and from the top, so I just used like the tape for it, and this will serve as guidelines for me where to locate my bunny and my eggs. And what else? And also I don't have a palette with me because again I'm traveling, so I will be using just random plastic lid from like a container, food container that we used. And yeah, and let's just start. So the bunny will be on the right side, and it will be kind of like a 3/4 side side of our bunny, and it will be looking a little bit up. So I will be just going ahead and sketching it, and I will start with the head, and because the head is looking kind of up, we want to make it the nose pointing up. And first I will just do some shapes, and I will then erase and correct it. But first I want just to locate it on paper, and the nose will be somewhere here, and the eye will be somewhere here, and the ears, the long beautiful ears, will be somewhere here, the 2 ears. Yeah, I said I'm not gonna be very detailed, but well. And then the body, I think I could have even gone a little bit bigger, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a bigger bunny, bigger head. Head is like an oval, it's not completely a circle. With bunnies it's more like oval, and depending on how they sit or stand or run, it has like higher part where the forehead, and a little bit squarish part here where the nose and face is. ears. And as you can see, it's very approximate bunny. It's not really super realistic, but it is something like that. I think the paws should be a little bit bigger. Yeah. And it's just I'm marking the belly color. Okay, this is a very approximate sketch, and now this is very dark for a sketch. I will leave it as it is now, but before I will paint, I will use kneaded eraser to lighten it up, because that would be too dark, especially if we are using it, if you're using paint more as a watercolor. And now I will be making some eggs, and of course they will be not realistic size compared to a bunny. And also eggs are oval, and if I did not let my bunny sit exactly on the line of the tape, and whatever you are using as a guideline, make sure that this egg and the bunny will still be on the same level. Even if you don't have a ruler, you can use just your pencil as a guideline to see where the egg should stand. Right, and my egg should stand. And with Easter eggs, you can make them stand, you can make them lay, you can make them be behind one another. It doesn't really matter, as long as we maintain the same guideline, base. And again, I'm just roughly sketching, and I will be cleaning it up and removing it once we are done. And of course you can add flowers, you can add plants, grass on both sides to make the drawing, the painting look more complete and somehow framed with natural elements. Or you can make like clouds or forest behind it, or you can paint a basket. But well, yeah, that's what we are doing right now. Okay, I think I'm satisfied with the sketch and the layout, how it will be regarding composition and the end. And now I will lighten up the sketch, and I have a kneaded eraser, so I'm just rolling it around. But you can of course always leave the sketch and even make it on purpose with really bold hard lines, especially if you're working with watercolor or with acrylics but watered down, because the outlines, if they're clean and they're nice, then it's really good visual kind of borders for your painting. Now the most interesting part is of course the painting itself, and I will start with eggs because I wanted to talk about different styles, how we can paint them. And I only have like basic colors of acrylics with me. I will mix some, but mostly I will be using just the basic colors. And the first thing I wanted to show is how to use the acrylics as watercolor. We can make it happen in two ways. First, we can wet our brush and make the egg surface wet. It will not be visible on video, but when you do it, you will of course see where the area is wet and where it's not. Then you will be dipping your brush, again wet brush, in a little bit of paint, just a little bit, because acrylics are very opaque, as we know, and just a little bit of paint will already create a lot of color. It will be very intense color. So, and then with the wet brush you can start applying the colors. As you can see, because our egg surface was wet, the colors are nicely spreading. And if at this point you will add any other color, which I will do right now, they will nicely blend together. And it actually reminds me of how, when I was little, my mom would color eggs with natural, like boiling them in egg skins or whatever. It reminds me this pattern, this natural pattern. Then you can mix it more between each other, these colors. And as you can see, it does not look like acrylics we used to use. It looks very gentle, very nice, very subtle, pale colors. And of course, when this is dry, we can still add any details we want. And even right now, while it's still wet, we can still add more color, just like dots. And as long as the paper still wet, the colors will spread. So you can create like speckles or even some more defined shapes if you want. And of course it can be any other color you'd like. And when it's dry, you can add more details to it in a more traditional way, like acrylic works. Yeah, as you can see, it was pretty easy to just wet the brush and add the colors of our choice to the wet area and make the paint just do the job. Mainly we're just allowing the paint to work around it. Yep, so this is one way we can color the Easter eggs, and another way it's creating a pattern. First we need to make the pattern, and for example, one of the most classic ones is to create like a central piece and then some geometrical shapes around it. Can also be circles, and I am doing it with a pencil now, but you can also go ahead and just do it with the brush directly on paper. That's okay with acrylics. And if we want acrylics to be of a brighter, more vibrant color, we will not be wetting this area, but we can still use a wet brush, because wet brush makes it easier to apply the color, and then you can start coloring. As I only have the basic colors, primaries, and black and white, I'm mixing my orange by combining red and yellow. And again, when you work with acrylic paint, you are free to paint the whole surface, even if there is an element like the circles here, because especially if the underlying color like this yellow is transparent, because once this layer is dry, you can layer a more opaque color on top of it, and there will be no issues. Acrylics are really fast drying. Pretty much all brands, a thin layer like this will dry sometimes even in less than a minute, but the brands always say 5 to 20 or even 30 minutes, but a thin layer like this, 30 minutes, no, it never it never be like this. It will be maximum 1 or 3 minutes. Of course, a thicker layer or a layer with water like we did the first egg will take longer to dry because it had water. That's the only thing that was slow in it from drying. But regular dry brushing or even wet brushing but on a dry surface application will not cause you any problems. And of course you need to test. Once it's dry to touch, you can start applying the next layer. For me it's still wet, so I'm waiting a little bit. But again, it's not too wet, so even if I am to apply a color now, it will not be spreading like this because there was not as much water in this watercolor like application. I feel like there is not much difference between this orange and the red. I may cover this triangles with green color because green is a complementary to red and the contrast will look good, because I don't like how the orange looks here. It is too much kind of same valid color scheme, but I don't like how it looks here. Right? And also the smaller the subject is, the harder it will be to paint details and work around it. So it is intimidating to start on a large larger scale paper or canvas, but it is actually easier. If you are to cover a color with another color and you want the next new color to really pop, you would use white first, white layer, and then that new color, because white works as an opacifier for acrylics, and that will kind of create like a barrier between the two colors, and the new color will start from scratch, like from the white paper. But if you're using an opaque color for the second layer, that will work too without white. I like it more with green. I don't know what you think, but also it is just to show what we can do as designs, and of course you are free to choose any other colors you'd like, as long as they go well together. And for that you can always look at color wheel and decide if the colors can complement each other, if they look well. Okay, I think I like that. So there's completely two different techniques that you can use in the designs that you will have as a result. And while I'm with this green, I will be using a very light wash of the green again, just to make some green grass around this egg. I did not wet the paper as you saw, but I did diluted the acrylic with water significantly. My brush is wet, I added a lot of water to the paint, and this is just like a base layer, underlayer. On top I can do details, but we have still a bunny to go. Now I will be mixing some paint. For bunny I need something like a very light beige and a little bit darker brown. And how with all this just basic colors, because I have just the primaries and the green, I forgot about the green, and how I'm gonna make the brown out of it. Very easily I will mix red and green as any complementary colors, the colors that are opposite on a color wheel. The two complementary colors will make a neutral color, brown or sometimes gray or even black. But the red and green, normally they do exactly brown. You may have to adjust how much green and how much red you put into it, but normally it is like that. And for example, I already was testing this golden paints, and if I mix green and red, it gives me a nice brown. This looks reddish to me, so I will be adding more green now that I know. And even red and ultramarine, they don't make a really purple color. It looks like red shade to me, so you can also work with this and add a little bit green to this, and it also can become brown. And this is now I mixed red and green. As you can see, it is really dark to me. What I can do is I can mix a little bit of white, of course, to this. I can mix to make it darker, yellow or more green or more red, but I just need a start color. I need a start brown. With this start brown I can work to paint the rabbit. And again, as we are not trying to make it very realistic, I think this is better brown. I added more red and more yellow. So from this I will now create beige by adding lots of white color. So this is a little bit of white. This is significantly more white, and still it leans to redder shade, like pinker shade. We can neutralize it by adding more green, just a tiny little bit of green. But I still will need a lighter color, maybe like this, and white, of course. So yeah, as you can see from just basic colors, you can always create a variety of new colors you need for any painting. So you don't have to buy a set of 300 colors just because they are different. You can always make them yourself. And the rabbit, I will be also doing the same like the grass I did. I will try to start with just the base layer, diluted brown color, to mark where the fur of a darker color is. And where the fur of the lighter color is. And you can do it the same way that we did the egg. You can wet the area before, because again, acrylics are super fast drying, and even if I'm using a really diluted color and wet brush, it will still dry pretty fast because the layer that I'm using is very thin. For example, here now I can already add some darker color because this is a leg that is in the shade. But I am still working with a wet brush because it helps spreading the color paint. And I'm still working that brush, just adding darker brush strokes here and there. I'm not trying to get it perfect. If I feel like that's too much, I just clean the brush with a towel and just tap it in the towel, and then with a just slightly wet brush I work the area again while the paint is wet. it will be still reworkable, even acrylics. The belly is lighter, and this is again the base layer, but it will be having more white. But I'm not really big on bunnies. Haven't seen a lot in my life, so I may be all wrong about that. I just had some reference pictures from internet, looked them up, and that's how I came up with the idea. And this paw, the paw that is on the back will be darker. If you have a dark blob of color like this, do not like really add more water to it, because it will spread on your lighter areas and it kind of will mess it up significantly. And of course it's still quite easy to correct. You can just lift some colors with paper towel, but it will stress you. It will be just unnecessary stress. The head. And the ears. This brush almost has no paint, but that's good for the ears, because that closer ear, the inner part of the ear, is almost pink, very light. And then once it's dry, I will make the darker part over it. The bottom of the head of a bunny is lighter, so I'm just leaving the paper, the white paper color, to be visible. Okay. I think the base is good, and now we can start working on the fur and more accents of this rabbit. The easiest way to work on details is to have a miniature brush or detailed brush. They are all round brushes, and this is not the smallest one, and this is just a simple synthetic brush. This is number 4, size 4, and you can definitely go much lower to the size 1 or even half, and etc to create really nice thin and delicate lines. I do not have it right now on me, so I'm working with what I have. That's the darker area for that ear that we see, that has open part, and the ear behind will be of course darker, and that's the back of the ear. And as you can see, despite the fact that I do not have the smallest brush, if I work gently, I can still have very nice thin lines with it. The key of working with round brush and small areas and line is just patient, and really do not press on the brush, just let it move, let the very tip of it move. And also the tip should be very well loaded, and it should be wet but not dripping. As you can see, there is no water or paint dripping, but it is wet, this brush, and it is loaded very nicely. And as long as it's loaded, the coverage will be nice. If you see that the line starts breaking, it means that the brush starts to dry, and you really need to dip it in water again. If the brush is too wet, just tap it with just tap the paper towel that you have here. I will show you. I have my little palette here, my water here, and my paper towel. So if I mix the paint and something went wrong, too much paint, I just dab, and then I keep working. As I cannot, well, we can, but that's not the plan. To make it super realistic, we don't have to make all the little hairs of that bunny. Just work as much as you want, as much as you feel like it's, as long as it's going well. If you feel like you are ruining something, just stop for a second, step back from the drawing, and see if there's something you are adding that should not be there. Then try to cover it up. Again, with acrylics we can cover anything. If there is still something that looks bare, like dull, then it's probably that you have this base color but you didn't add any details. There is not enough interesting details to it, and then you can keep working on that area. Also, as soon as we will add the darkest like the eyes and maybe some lightest parts like the bellies. That also always gives a drawing, a painting, a more finished look. So if you think like something is still missing, yeah, there are eyes missing and there are details missing. So there's also something that artists call an ugly stage, when you just need to keep moving. If you think like you're doing everything wrong, it can be true, but in most cases, like 99% of the cases, you are not doing anything wrong, as long as you're following like the tutorial or the common sense. It just means that you are still at this initial stage, and there are so many layers and colors to go that you cannot see how beautiful it will be at the end. Although the belly is white, we see it, we perceive it as white, it is not completely white, and do not leave it bare, like naked. Put some little darker hair in it, because it is a living thing, the bunny, right? It has some darker and lighter hairs, and it's not necessarily purely white or dark or whatever color. It's a mix of colors, but yeah, do it as detailed as you want or as you can. I'm not doing a perfect thing. I am an abstract artist. I'm just having fun. That nose and forehead area, I'm making them darker now. I want to get to the white parts, but I still need to keep it really subtle, not too opaque like regular acrylics. These light parts. I need a little bit of white in the ear. It will probably be hard to see on camera. This little amount of white I'm adding here on his face and on the belly. You can always do the same with white color, how I was doing the little hairs. Now I did the same with the wet brush. I'm doing like really small amount, little amount of whitish hairs on his fur. They will dry lighter, so they will be pretty much invisible here. And I need to do the eyes. Of course, for the eyes you can simply draw them with a pen or a marker, but for the sake of it, of the painting, I will do it with the acrylics. And as the bunny looks up, our nose and eyes will be pretty much on the same line, and that's okay. Don't freak out because of it. Once your bunny is dry or will start drying, you may think that you need more accents, like the ears need more pink, or the belly needs more white, or the body needs more colors. That is okay, because again, acrylics are easy to work with, and you can always go back and do what you think it's best for this. And the last thing that we need to do for the bunny, it's the whiskers. I don't know, for bunnies we say whiskers, or what do we say, but anyway, that's them. And again, you can use the brush, the tip of the small round brush, or you can use a colored pencil or a pen, anything that you're confident with. To do it with a brush, again, the same way, you need a wet brush but not dripping. You need to load it nicely with paint, and you need to practice first a light light movements. Practice on paper and then go back to the drawing, to the painting, and do the same, just using the direction. For me, it's easier to go from bottom to top always. I don't know why from top to bottom it's harder for me, but well, it is what it is. If you think you're gonna ruin it, just go really gently, and then you can make it longer. As you see, I'm doing it really gently because I'm also scared, trust me, of ruining a bunny. But I think that's cute. I think that's cute enough. You can get darker hair, of course, to the tail, to the parts that are in the shadow. Add even black hairs. And as you see, if you really do it lightly, you can have such a thin lines, but only as long as the brush is wet and as long as you can control your hand. That's not easy, absolutely not easy. I think the bunny ears, I see they always have like speckles on them or something, like a little bit. Okay, I think I'm satisfied with the bunny, and I need to start working on everything that's around it to see if there's anything I'm adding. Doing the same for this grass, just the wet base layer. And the same I will be doing for the bottom. All these eggs and bottom of the rabbit are dry already, so I'm not scared of messing it up. Now again, lines for the grass, the same. You can practice, then we can go back. Need more water. You see the line does not go even. It means not enough water. Not loaded well enough, not enough flow. You can also use your second hand to kind of control how hard you press on that second hand and make yourself more confident, maybe more comfortable. Because if you will just hold your hand completely in the air, it will not work. Not for everyone. And as these eggs are dried already, I am going and doing the grass even here. As I said, you can add flowers, you can add anything you want. I just don't want to complicate things too much right now. What I wanted to do is to have some of the kind of sky color, but also in that watercolor technique, if you wish. Okay. And that will be it. And you can, of course, because we have space on top and bottom, you can make it a postcard. You can write Happy Easter, dates, sign, or just have a smaller frame here, and that will be your little painting.